My entitled brother lost his mind and attacked me, his ex, and our father. That got him disowned by the family. But not before I beat the crap out of him. My brother's major downhill spiral started with jealousy over my house, but only got worse thanks to this next part. He started smoking pot more heavily and drinking harder, and it was making him more aggressive and violent. He got in a brawl outside of a bar for reasons I still don't know, but he got his ass handed to him on a platter. He eventually found out his ex has been seeing someone else, and ironically that someone is another friend of mine, which was news to me. But it's not like he wasn't around my brother's ex a fair bit. They're both fairly social people, and were also friends for years. Once the secret was out, he confessed to me it wasn't planned. But my brother's ex Sarah, my friend, just clicked one day about a year ago. This sort of thing can only happen in a town like ours. I admit, Sarah is very beautiful, but I've always seen her as a big sister figure ever since she started dating my brother in high school. So I never thought of getting with her myself. She kept her new boyfriend a secret for some time. I didn't even know until someone else spilled the beans, and the word traveled. When my brother found out, that was the last he could mentally take. My brother was hoping for years that Sarah would take him back, but no such luck there. When he lost his mind over the fact my friend was dating Sarah, he started hunting for the poor guy. My friend is not a fighter, and a self-described beanpole, so that's what I'll call him. Sarah seems to like beanpole because he's everything my brother is not. He isn't really a brave person, and came to me when he found out my brother was looking for him. He has a rather distinctively painted car, so it's easy to spot. My brother caught wind beanpole was at my place, and came roaring his truck down the street. When my brother showed up to my house, he started screaming and banging on my door because he wanted to kick beanpole's ass. And when I refused to let him in, he attacked me. We had a redneck brawl right there in my front lawn. I want to say I won, but the fight only stopped when one of my friend/tenants yelled he was going to call the cops. I sucker punched my brother while he was distracted and told him to never come back to my house again. And if he ever tried to hurt Beanpole again, I'd make sure he'd up in the hospital with 2 broken legs. This was backed by the other friends/tenants I had there. My brother is an idiot, but even he knew that pissing off my entire friend group was not a good idea. So he picked himself up off the ground and started leaving. But he clearly looked like he wanted to do something to my truck because he stopped and just stood there staring at it with his hands in his pockets, like he was debating scratching the paint with his keys. I yelled at him that I have CCTV, but then he turned around, pulled his pants partway down, and started rubbing his ass directly onto my truck's passenger side door. Then he forced out a nasty fart and said he sharted a little, and laughed like a nut bar when he took off. I immediately got the hose. I'm just glad I didn't leave windows open or doors unlocked. Otherwise, he'd have done far worse. And the smell of what he did was pretty much what you'd think. Everyone already knew Sarah was never going to take him back. She avoided dating for years because my brother is so unhinged that she knew he'd do something like this. That's why she and her new boyfriend kept it secret. I went to ice my bruises and call Sarah, but my brother was already calling and texting her over and over again. He wouldn't stop. He was begging she break up with her boyfriend and take him back. He even said he wanted to marry her and move to the Northwest. Not sure why he specified that part of the U.S. Maybe because we live in the Southeast. But she flatly told him no, never again. Not happening even if hell froze over. He cried that it wasn't fair because she was his first love. She wasn't, and they have a daughter together. Then he started sending her flowers, love letters, and gifts. She sent them all back. Then she announced online that she and Beanpole had been dating for some time and recently made plans to eventually move in together. That's when my brother really went off the deep end. A few hours after he saw that post, my brother got wasted and then barged into Sarah's parents' house by body ramming the back door. He actually cut his face because the door had a glass window, but he was so drunk that he didn't notice he was bleeding. Sarah understandably freaked out, and my brother grabbed and tried to force her to kiss him. She pushed him away, and he hit her for refusing him. He slapped her and threw her to the floor really hard like an angry pimp wanting his money, and his daughter saw it all and started screaming at the top of her lungs. Sarah screamed too, and my brother fled. Police were called, and Sarah was taken to the hospital. My brother threw her down so hard that she had a dislocated shoulder. My brother was found by police at his camper, where he was even more drunk than before, and half his face was covered in blood. He had to be taken to the hospital, where he got stitches, then taken to jail. He got charged with trespassing, breaking and entering, and assault. Surprisingly not DUI too, as he'd actually walked there. When our parents and I found out, well, the family finally couldn't take it anymore and went into an uproar. Our parents had it out with my brother after he bailed himself out from jail, and then he tried to fight our dad when they argued. And no surprise, he tried to blame everything on me. My brother actually said I let Beanpole steal his woman, but couldn't really explain how. He also refused to believe I did not know until recently. Then he said that Sarah was supposed to be his. Dad not only disagreed, but told my brother that he was a fucking disgrace. And that was an absolutely disgusting way to talk about Sarah. She's not his property. And then my brother shoved Dad as hard as he could. Dad got knocked to the floor, and my brother started kicking him. Dad isn't a small man, but he's old with a bad back and a bad knee, and needs a cane just to get around. Since we knew my brother would only have gotten crazier if he saw me, I was hiding in another room with the door cracked and listening in. I knew he might do something crazy, so I insisted on secretly being in the house when he was confronted. And I'm glad I was, because I came to Dad's defense before my brother could do too much damage. I knew we were roughly even in a fight, so I ambushed and hit him in the back with a rubber mallet, and then beat the shit out of him. No police were called that time. I attacked him in defense of our dad, so he probably would have been screwed if he tried to get me charged anyway, and then he'd have gone right back to jail. Someone also once asked me if I enjoyed beating up my brother that day. I did not. I was just in an adrenaline-fueled rage protecting my dad. But all things considered, I could have done far worse to my brother with that rubber mallet, as he only really got bruises. My dad gave HM a good smack in the face with his cane too though, but it's just hollow aluminum, not exactly a damage dealer. Our parents, mainly my dad, disowned my brother as I threw him out the door, and he spent some time crying on the porch and saying he was sorry and didn't mean it, then switched to saying we could all regret this, and we could go fuck ourselves before finally leaving. My mother spent hours crying. She'd stuck up for him before, and this was how he repaid her. My brother managed to avoid real prison time or a trial for attacking Sarah by taking a guilty plea deal. He signed away custody of his daughter, and Sarah got a restraining order against him. My brother got a fine. Somehow only a couple months in county jail, probation, has to abstain from alcohol for 6 months, and he had to pay for the property damage. Sarah's dad already put in a new door and billed my brother for it. My brother also understandably lost his job due to the situation. Our mother secretly kept in contact with my brother and agreed to look after my brother's truck and camper while he was serving his 2-month sentence. And she didn't okay it with Dad first. He was pretty pissed at her for going behind his back, but she reasoned that it would be the last thing they ever did for him because she didn't want my brother to have no place to go after getting out of the clink. And even she made it clear it was the last of her goodwill towards him too. Once my brother got out of jail, Mom drove his truck and camper to a store to meet him and gave him back the keys. She told me there was barely a word of thanks from him, mostly just grunts when she tried to get him to talk to her. Dad said he still looked like an ungrateful sod. After that, my brother lived wherever he could park his camper for a while until one of his remaining friends somehow got him a new job as a welder in another town 40-ish miles away that he was having to commute to with his camper for a while. But he was back every weekend. Apparently, he only got the job by agreeing to work for less than what the job would normally pay, so he could move there permanently as soon as he got the okay from his probation officer, which said officer didn't make easy, I heard. I don't know the red tape of it, but he managed to pull it off. He can't leave the state, but he could still move to another county, it seems. He's probably renting a space in a trailer park right now or something, and maybe he's back to doing his side hustle of hauling trash for people. Before leaving town, my brother showed up outside my house to give me the double middle finger and dance around like a monkey while cursing at me in the street when he knew I was watching from the window. I guess it was his stupid way of trying to get in a last laugh without breaking the law or something. But then I got an idea. I've heard plenty of people say to kill with kindness, so I tried it in my own way. I grabbed an unopened bottle of my favorite honey whiskey from the pantry because I know my brother really loves that stuff too. Then I went outside and walked right up to him and shoved the bottle into his hands. I think it was the last thing he expected me to do in the moment, and I know he'd never willingly break a bottle of good booze, especially when it's free. Then I told him to have a drink on me to start his new life. I could barely keep myself from laughing when I turned to walk away. When I looked at my CCTV footage later, he actually stood there looking really glum while just staring at the bottle, and then moped back to his truck, and then he was gone, off to start his new life as a career welder. My brother is a childish, narcissistic, misogynistic, asshole to an extreme degree, but he's actually damn good at welding, both with steel and aluminum. Mostly self-taught too. It's practically his only real talent. He's even done basic forging and auto body work. I've seen him do shit with scrap metal I wish I could, but that's the only real compliment I can still say about him. Maybe he'll make a decent new life and career for himself doing metalwork elsewhere. He's better off away from us, just like we're better off away from him. He deleted all his social media, and I assume blocked us on everything. Not that we'd bother to contact him. One of his few remaining pothead friends in town told me my brother wants to legally change his name when his probation ends. Knowing him, he'll likely do it. Things are much more peaceful and far less dramatic without my entitled leech of a brother here. Some part of me missed him for a while, but he's just a terrible person. And the only one who's still missing him is our mother. She's still kind of broken up about it. But Dad has been unwavering that they did the right thing by disowning him. He made his own bed. Now he's lying in it. I doubt my brother will come back anytime soon. And if he does, he will not be welcome.